when will the president address us? Is the president communicating with Nigerians every day? Then somebody said that no, the president has to speak to Nigerians through television, face to face, so they can see him and feel him. And that is where I have a little bit of disagreement. All means of communication in this our modern age, they are represented in the presidency. What are they trying to achieve by insisting that only when you speak through TV that you are speaking to the Nigerian people? In those days when there were no social media, there were no other means of communication other than TV and radio and telegram. That used to be the means of communication. With the advent of new media, there are bigger horizon and spectrum of communication, avenues to the people, not just to people in the cities, but people in the villages. Every day, the president is communicating to the Nigerian people. Hello, I'm Daniel Boalam. Welcome to my podcast, For the Records. I get asked sometimes, and sometimes we hear this when either the media or the people said, when will the president address us? When will the president speak to Nigerians? Anytime there is an occurrence of an event, you hear, when will the president speak to us? Can the president speak to us? So I thought to share my thoughts about the office of the president, the exercise of power of the president, and the communication of the president to the Nigerian people, because quite a number of people, quite frankly, don't know. Section 5 of the Constitution says, subject to the provision of the Constitution, the executive powers of the Federation shall be vested in the president and may, subject to the above said and to the provision of any law made by the National Assembly, be exercised by him either directly or through the vice president and ministers of the government of the Federation or officers in the public service of the Federation. So the executive powers of the Federation lies in the president, and he exercised that executive power either directly by himself or by delegation, meaning that he can delegate the vice president, he can delegate the ministers, he can delegate the public officers of the government of the Federation. As the structure of the Federation is, there is the office of the president that chairs and oversees the entire Federation and exercises the powers, because he sits not just as the head of state, but also as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But the president cannot be everywhere at the same time. That's why the Constitution now says he can exercise the power directly or by delegation. So he can assign responsibility to the vice president. All of the ministers of the government of the Federation and the various ministries they occupy, their functions is a representation of the authority of the president and public officers of the Federation. And this layer of responsibilities that you see across board, every day they exercise that and they communicate the exercise of those powers and report to the Nigerian people. So say, for example, when the Minister of Information is communicating to Nigerians about the government of the Federation, about the workings of the ministries and departments, it is deemed as the president speaking to Nigerians, but through delegation. When you see communications aid of the president in the presidency speak on official act of the president or his reaction to issues, they are also that is also a representation of the president's communication to Nigeria, however, through delegation. And that is why when you say something, it is reported as the president said or the presidency says. So, is the president communicating with Nigerians every day? Some of the puzzle that we need to unwrap today is that sometimes we attend TV. Like a few days ago, I was on a network for interview, and they said since the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, that the president did not address Nigerians. When is he going to address Nigerians? I tried to explain to the fellow that when that incident happened, the president in fact addressed Nigerians immediately. The president issued a statement as a reaction, and that statement was issued by the presidency, reported by the press, television, radio, audio, social media. All the platforms conceivable as means of communication reported the position of the president regarding the issue, which is that Nigeria stands firmly as a democracy governed by constitutional guarantees of religious liberty. And you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraph, very pungent. This same issuance of the statement by the president was reported throughout the world, because I was in the US on the instruction of the president, and the whole world reported what the president issued. So here lies the question. By that issuance of the statement, which was reported through all the platforms, has the president not spoken to Nigerians? Then somebody said that no, the president has to speak to Nigerians through television, face to face, so they can see him and feel him. And that is where I have a little bit of disagreement. I am not suggesting that the president can do a broadcast. I mean, it's conventional, and presidents do, and this president has been doing that. These broadcasts, oftentimes, traditionally, are assigned to events, right? So, for example, festive season, national holiday, Armed Forces Day, Independence Day, some of these key events of the Federation, the president does issue a broadcast to the Nigerian people. However, in other functions of the president, we have what we call the State House Press Corps. The State House Press Corps it comprises of the newspaper publishers, it comprises of the television journalists or reporters, it comprises of the social media. We have them in the State House Press Corps. All means of communication in this our modern age, they are represented in the presidency. They report day-to-day activities of the president, whether receiving of envoy, receiving ministers, receiving government of other federations, or activities of the president so far as it affects the Nigerian people. And these reports reaches all the medium conceivable to man. Those who don't have access to TV, they have access to radio, they hear. On a daily basis, they report and news about the events of the president. Is that not sufficient? Is that not material? Then let's escalate it further. Say he has to physically speak to the Nigerian people. And I ask the question, what are they trying to achieve by insisting that only when you speak through TV that you are speaking to the Nigerian people? Because some of us, unfortunately, our psychic works with the convention of those days. In those days when there were no social media, there were no other means of communication other than TV and radio and telegram. That used to be the means of communication, and it continues to remain like that. With the advent of new media, there are bigger horizon and spectrum of communication, avenues to the people, not just to people in the cities, but people in the villages. And I want to say, all of these avenues are means of communication. This government of the Federation and that of the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is utilizing effectively in communicating to the Nigerian people about the powers that they confer to him, for which he's exercising as he has taken the oath by the Constitution to preserve the lives and the properties of the Nigerian people. So the next time people try to screw conversation, they try to mismanage communication, you must understand that communication by the president to the Nigerian people, it is not limited to television communication, but these other means by which communication medium is used to communicate the workings, the assignments, the responsibility of the president to the Nigerian people. And guess what? One of the key elements of a democratic society is called the free press, meaning that the democracy thrives when there is the free press, otherwise called the fourth estate of the realm. They represent the people. They represent the masses. They report the frustration of the masses or the progress of the masses. They bring that to government by inquiring and asking government questions on behalf of the people. And they also report the responses, reaction, and acts of the government in relation to the concerns and yearning of the people. And that is cherished, promoted in this administration. Every day, the president is communicating to the Nigerian people. And this is what I want to bring your way today. I will welcome your questions. Follow all our social media handles, the X handle, the Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we would like to hear your comment about whether you agree that this other means of communication is also part of it. Guess what? The president will always use broadcast as a means of communicating to the Nigerian people, but the president is not limited to broadcast. And every day the president is communicating to the Nigerian people on the trust that they bestowed on him and how he's carrying out these functions in accordance with the provision of the Constitution. Thank you for listening to me. This is my take for today, and I hope I'll come your way with another episode where we'll talk about other areas that concern you and concern the future of not just you, but that of your children. So good to see you, and until I talk to you next time. Bye-bye.